Thank you all for being here. The February 26th meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability is called to order. Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. And please place your cell phones on silent mode, remain seated, and please refrain from using small handheld devices in a way that interferes with the ability of others to see or hear proceedings. We'll begin by calling the roll to establish a quorum. Commissioner Driver, Commissioner Gottlieb, Commissioner Minor,
Present.
Commissioner Piemonte, Vice President Ruby Navarrijo,
Present.
President Terry is present, Commissioner Wortham. With 4 of the members of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability present, we have a quorum and we can conduct the commission's business. Before we begin public comment, I'd like to say a few words about the commission's rules for behavior at commission meetings. The commission's bylaws establish rules that apply to everyone at our meetings, both commissioners and people in the audience. We have these rules for a few reasons. Commission's meetings cover very important issues that can have a huge impact on people's safety and their lives. People come to commission meetings with strong opinions and strong feelings, and we encourage that. We want commission meetings to be safe and inclusive for anyone who attends. All speakers at our meetings should have an opportunity to be heard and to be able to speak without disruption or intimidation. Under the commission's bylaws, people in the meeting aren't allowed to interrupt speakers, be disruptive, disrespectful, discriminatory, harassing, or threatening. If the rules are violated, the chair of the meeting will call order, issue warnings to people who are violating the rules, and can ultimately have someone removed for violating the rules. Commissioners can also make motions to enforce the rules. We ask everyone, commissioners, public speakers, panelists, and audience members, to help create a safe space where we can be heard. Conversations are incredibly important issues, and so in a way that is respectful and allows every speaker to be heard. And so before I move forward, for the purpose of the roll, Commissioner Piemonte is present. The next item of business is public comment. If you would like to share, related to the commission's work on public safety and accountability, you have a few options. You can speak at a public meeting such as this. You can also submit public comment in writing by emailing your comment to communitycommissionpubliccomment@cityofchicago.org, or you can bring a copy of your comment to one of the commission's public meetings and give it to someone on the commission or someone on commission staff. People who wanted to speak during public comment period were asked to submit their names in writing earlier tonight. Names were drawn at random by a member of commission staff, and speakers will be called in the order in which their names were drawn. If your name is called to offer public comment, we ask that you approach the microphone, line up in order in which your name is called. When it's your turn to speak, please say your name, then spell your name, then offer your comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. Our first speaker is 10th District Councilor Ellie Bahina.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ellie Bahina, and I represent the 10th District. Today, we're asking for a full hearing. On November 13th, District Councilors formally requested a comprehensive public hearing on CPD's collaboration with federal immigration enforcement, including a hearing that included Superintendent Snelling. With no meaningful action, more than 2,000 residents submitted signed petitions on December 11th, which triggered an ordinance requirement for a hearing. Today's meeting is in this hearing. On January 8th, instead of that hearing, the commission held a listening session. More than 1,500 residents showed up, virtually and in person. They were clear: accountability can't be delayed. Since January 23rd, district councilors who were petition organizers have met 5 times with commission staff and with the vice president of this commission. We came prepared every time with recommendations on location, panelists, structured questions, peacekeepers, and a process for community input. We did this in good faith. Yet, this isn't the hearing we asked for, and the superintendent isn't present today. So, today marks the second time this issue comes before you without the full accountability that the residents requested. So, I'm asking, how many times do we have to ask for it? I'm the daughter of immigrants. Since I was 5 years old, I've been navigating systems that weren't created for my parents. The community I serve has families just like mine. I've seen the terror in the streets, neighbors protecting each other with just bodies in their whistle. I was kidnapped from the streets that I grew up in. That same week, my uncle was detained, and it's been 120 days since we've seen him. My community is courageous. We continue to show up. And all we're asking is you do the same. Hold a full hearing, bring clarity, bring transparency. The third time cannot be another delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Simon Hoffman Gotchling. And for the purpose of the record, Commissioner Wortham is present. And after Mr. Gotchling, we have 20th District Councilor Deidre O'Connor.
Sorry, 1 second. There we go. My name is Simon Huffman Gotching. Do you need me to spell out my name? Okay, that's going to take a minute. Simon, and then Huffman, and then there's a hyphen, Gottschling. Thank you. I'm here to ask CCPSA do everything in their power to investigate and stop collaboration between Chicago Police Department and the various federal agencies deporting people from the streets of Chicago. We do not need ICE, CBP, DHS, or any other so-called immigration enforcement agency to become better oriented with the city of Chicago and thus better equipped to kill, brutalize, and disappear our families, friends, and neighbors. Chicago does not need and does not want CPD helping and defending ICE as they attack its people. That is why I am calling for CCPSA to comply with the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression 6 demands, which are 1, present to the community on a monthly basis all communications, internal memos, and guidances regarding CPD and ICE collaboration. 2, end CPD crowd control during immigration enforcement activities. 3, end pretextual traffic stops. 4, end CPD's use of tactical teams. 5, remove all current and former Oath Keepers and other members of white supremacist hate groups from the police force. And 6, transfer Oath Keeper investigations from the BIA to COPA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Deirdre O'Connor, and I'm a 20th District Councilor. That's DEIRDREOCONNOR. I am a District Councilor for the 20th Police District, and I am part of the group that helped pass petitions to hear from the superintendent on ICE interactions with CPD. Since January, DCs and I have worked with the CCPSA staff and commissioners to plan a meaningful meeting. Since then, the mayor has issued an executive order and city council has worked to pass has worked to try and strengthen the welcoming city ordinance. Tonight's meeting isn't what we asked for, but I hope that we can hear from COPA surrounding the new executive order. I urge this commission to continue to work urgently to get the meeting that we've demanded. Yesterday, a worker in my district was kidnapped. He was at work. He had an appointment scheduled for tomorrow. We do not have time to wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 2 speakers, Carly Bryant and River Argilian.
Hello, my name is Carly Bryant. That's CARLYBRYANT. And I am here to speak about the hostile and terrorizing relationship that is held between CPD and ICE. Let us not forget that not far from where we are today, federal agents shot Marimar Martinez 5 times and deemed her a domestic terrorist for alerting the community of ICE presence. For the rest of this comment, I speak with the intention that you hold the weight of the fatalities and disasters ICE has caused, like the case of Mary Martinez, and move with the speed to ensure CPD has no part in ICE's illegal. The people organizing for an actual sanctuary city in the streets, the people you all represent, are experiencing not only the weight of the National Guard, ICE, but all have seen the same horrendous tactics used with them in the Chicago police force. Some of the similarities between the two include using tactics like pretextual traffic stops, CPD's tactical teams that are used to terrorize Black and Brown communities, and the astounding amount of white supremacists in CPD and after witnessing the CCPSA's failure to protect our communities from ICE during the Operation Mid-Blitz, I think it is time now more than ever for the CPOP referendum to be passed. Community control over the police is the only way we can ensure that we have access to all communications between ICE and CPD on a monthly basis, an end to CPD crowd control during immigration enforcement activity, an end to pretextual traffic stops, an end to the use of CPD's tactical teams, a complete removal of current white supremacists and oath keepers on the force, and transferring oath keeper investigations from BIA to COPA. Do better.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is River Argilan. That's RIVERARGYILAN. And I am here to read the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression's demand of the CCPSA. Present to the community on a monthly basis all communications, internal memos, and guidance regarding CPD and ICE collaboration. End CPD crowd control during immigration enforcement activities. End pretextual traffic stops. End CPD's use of tactical teams, remove all current and former oath keepers and other members of white supremacist hate groups from the police force, and finally, transfer oath keeper investigations from the BIA to COPA. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers, District Councilor Aaron Vogel, and then Sully Peterson Quinn.
Good evening. My name is Erin Vogel, RINVOGLI. Hi, Commissioners. I am here again, frustrated and imploring you act boldly and act urgency in giving community and organizers the hearing that we asked for. I'm not going to go over the whole timeline again because you heard it from Ellie, but we first sent a letter to you all in mid-November. At this point, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and I'm really tired of hearing from my constituents, what are we doing, what are we doing, what are we doing? I believe that we have acted in good faith as organizers, show up to meetings with Vice President Ruby Navarrijo and Commission executive staff. This feels like we're moving at snail's pace, and when I think of the consequence of that and like the real tangible fear that's in our communities, like that terrifies me that we won't be prepared, that we as an accountability body, district councilors and commission alike, are not taking proactive steps to just have a hearing, right? I think there's more end goals there of what like actual passing of legislation would look like, but it meantime, we're asking for a hearing. 15 out of the 20 district councils had immigration in their communities as one of the top issues. If you read the reports coming out of your districts or district councils, this is something that's important. And so I implore all of you, please take this as seriously as we do, because time is really of the essence. Use your power that you were appointed for, represent the communities that are begging at this point for some action on your end, because it is hard to hear the traumas of our community come up over and over again, and to know that March is around the corner, it's scary that we're not prepared. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Sully Peterson Quinn. I'm the campaign coordinator for the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability. We are a community coalition united by a common demand for safer neighborhoods through community-led oversight and transparent, accountable policing that serves the needs of all Chicagoans. We want to uplift and reemphasize the demands and frustrations of the district councilors who've spoken before me about the need for a thorough and substantive subject matter hearing that includes CPD leadership, immigrant rights experts, and also the sharing of resources that the commission can share to help defend and protect community members. I think that this is also an opportunity to use the platform that you all have to share resources to help community members protect each other. The role that the commission plays in that, I think, is a really important one. We also want to call on COPA to investigate past CPD and ICE collaboration. There must be real investigations and accountability for any CPD violations of the Welcoming City Ordinance. We also are asking the commission to strengthen policies that protect Chicagoans, such as closing loopholes in CPD policies that allow officers to share information, block streets, guide ICE, or otherwise help immigration enforcement, and to work in good faith with the district councilors that put forward the initial petition to hold the subject matter hearing in the first place. And finally, to hold ICE accountable by drafting policies that require CPD to treat the violence and kidnappings by ICE like any other person who commits such crimes. For anyone else who wants to get involved with the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability, we'll have more information at the back after the meeting. I want to thank the commission for their time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers, Leonardo Quintero, District 12, and April Guevara Espinoza.
Hello. All right. To reiterate what everyone said, it's disappointing to see that CPD leadership isn't at this meeting. They are the people who have to be held accountable. The last three letters of the CCPSA is public safety and accountability, right? And we cannot have public safety without accountability, no matter how we split it, no matter how we cut it. If the people are not being held accountable, they're always going to try to get away with what they can. I also want to reiterate, somebody mentioned that we need to take the priority that was submitted in 2024 for 2025 about switching investigatory powers from BIA to COPA when it comes to people for officers with ties, connections, or affiliations with hate groups, and handing it over to COPA, right? I think that's an important part because the more that we allow that to happen, the more we allow them to stay in these ranks, the more likely they are to work and collaborate with ICE and other racist institutions. CPD is a racist institution itself. So with that, I also want to mention two things. One, the 12th district is going to be looking for a third district counselor. So if you live in the 12th district, know somebody that lives in the 12th district, please encourage them to apply. And two, I'm collecting petitions. Last month, Commissioner Minor mentioned that there was a want for some type of victims' bill of rights or something along those lines. I also have been working on this prior to that, but I'm collecting petitions, signatures for that to be a hearing. So if the commission isn't listening to the Commissioner Minor, then we want to trigger it in this way as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's April Guevara Espinosa, APRILGUEVR. I'm an attorney at Impact for Equity. We are members of the ECPS and GAPA coalitions. The ECPS ordinance granted this commission with more power and civilian oversight over the police than exists in the entire country. There is an incredible amount of opportunity to ensure police accountability and public safety. While we appreciate the 6 commissioners who supported COPA investigating Welcoming City Ordinance violations, the commission must demand an investigation of CPD and ICE collaborations that took place in the fall. There must be accountability for the harms caused to community last year. We cannot wait until the next time a violation takes place. The commission also has the power to amend CPD policy, close the loopholes, and define what it means to collaborate by including things like crowd control, guiding ICE, and blocking streets for ICE to kidnap our neighbors, and different CPD directives. These hearings also must continue, but they need an agenda that reflects community needs. You have the platform to equip the community with safety resources, like connecting people with their local rapid response networks, know your rights and Migra Watch trainings, how they can find a loved one taken by ICE, how to report CPD violations to COPA. There is so much work to be done. Listening to community must be shown to be a priority by this commission before you lose their trust forever.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Tyrone Sims.
Good evening, commissioners, commission. So some months ago, I came to you all and talked about was unlawful arrest and our stuff down at 121 North LaSalle. Case number is 25120-458-301. That was April 16th. Second arrest, June 3rd. Case number is 25120-869-20. I'm supposed to go to trial tomorrow, but I was also arrested third, given a warrant after this case was supposedly SOL. No, not supposedly, it was SOL down 3150 North Floyd by Peter Gonzalez. However, when I got the warrant, Peter Gonzalez changed his whole tune and said that the officer came to court, didn't. So I'm back here in front of you all. Just like y'all say. So I'm a citizen of the city of Chicago. I know that we have all this integration, everything else that's going on, the new arrival, everything else, but I'm a citizen, 45 years in the city of Chicago. And if this commission doesn't work for me, how can it work for anything else? So everybody in here that's concerned, showing compassion, going out of their way, all the resources, whether it be litigation or housing, all the consideration. What about me? So how does this work? Once again, Adam. Again, now, President. Again, Aaron. Sandra. Fine. How does it work? See, their face. Once again, I'm stuck. So maybe I can get from the organization that built up the police. My name is Taiwan Sims, spelled TIWONSIMS is my last. Y'all come.
The next order of business is the approval of minutes. Before today's minutes, draft minutes of, excuse me, sir. We already allotted our time for public speaking. And as I stated when we began conversation, random names were drawn. We selected 10 speakers. God bless you. The next order of business is the minutes for today's meeting, draft minutes of the commission special meeting held on January 8th and the regular meeting held on January 29th were shared with all commissioners. Are there any corrections to the draft minutes that have been circulated? If there are no corrections, I move to minutes. I have moved to approve the minutes of the commission special meeting on January and the regular meeting held on January 29th. Commissioner Piamonte has seconded. Is there any debate on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Those in favor of adopting the motion to approve the minutes of the commission's special meeting held on January 8th and the regular meeting held on January 29th, please signal by saying aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Abstention, okay. For the record, Commissioner Wortham is an abstention. New business. Our next order of business is new business. On January 8th, 2026, the commission held a special meeting convened as a product of a petition received from the commission with more than 2,000 signatures. Nearly 1,500 people attended the meeting in person and online. Many speakers expressed their fear and anger and uncertainty about how CPD activity during immigration enforcement actions affects public safety and trust in law enforcement. Speakers also raised concern about the lack of clarity around existing policies related to CPD interactions with immigration agents and Border Patrol agents, a concern whether there is appropriate accountability when violations of those policies are alleged. Last month at the January 29th meeting, the commission adopted 7 strategic priorities to focus on in 2026. And one of these priorities is to work with the community, the mayor's office, city council, and CPD to strengthen policy and accountability around this issue. As tonight's meeting, we will work to address some of the questions raised by members at the January 8th meeting. We'll continue the work at another commission meeting to be determined. Tonight, we will focus on the role of COPA and the Chicago Office of Inspector General and its role in playing enforcement around CPD interaction related to the Welcoming City Ordinance. Many of the biggest questions raised at the January meeting were about the department. The superintendent was not able to attend tonight's meeting, and so we're actively working to schedule a future public meeting. We'll talk about the CPD policies, the trainees, accountability systems that are meant to ensure compliance with relevant laws and policies. We'll also talk about how those rules are being followed and whether they are doing what they're supposed to do. If there are problems, we'll explore potential changes to laws, policies, trainings, and accountability systems. We'll also talk about what happens if officers see certain issues around immigration enforcement. We expect that we will include to talk to the superintendent about next steps. The order that requires CPD to make reports on the violations of state or local law is to give evidence of potential violations to the state's attorneys. This information, we're still learning. We don't have all the ins and outs. We, to my knowledge, have not spoken with the mayor's office, the state's attorney's office, and all of the other parties that we need to communicate with. So more to come once we have that information. For tonight's meeting with COPA and the OIG, there are a few other pieces of important background information. One of the issues that people raised at the January 8th meeting was about the enforcement of the Welcoming City Ordinance. There's also CPD policy that basically takes the Welcoming City Ordinance and puts it into CPD rules that police officers have to follow. The Welcoming City Ordinance is a city law that says CPD can't assist federal agents in civil immigration enforcement. However, the Welcoming City Ordinance says that CPD is allowed to work to protect public safety. For example, if a crime is occurring around immigration enforcement activity, or if there is a risk that someone could get hurt, CPD can protect them. This law and policy have led to questions about whether certain actions amount to assisting with civil immigration enforcement, which isn't allowed, or if those CPD actions are protecting public safety, which is allowed. There are also questions about who's responsible for enforcing the Welcoming City Ordinance and related CPD directives. Right now, if there's an allegation that a CPD officer violated the Welcoming City Ordinance, that allegation is investigated by CPD's Bureau of Internal Affairs. There is an ordinance in City Council now that would give COPA that power to investigate claims of violations around the Welcoming City Ordinance. At the commission's meeting in late January, Superintendent Snelling said that he supported the ordinance that would shift those investigations from CPD to COPA. The city council is expected to vote on that ordinance at its meeting in the middle of March. So COPA's role and accountability around these issues may grow significantly. And one of those things we'll talk about tonight is what that would look like. Tonight, we have invited COPA and the OIG here to provide information and answer questions. The panel will discuss existing policies and procedures and accountability systems to help ensure compliance with the Welcoming City Ordinance and relevant CPD directives. We'll also ask that panelists to consider how to create greater transparency and reporting around this work. I'd now like to invite our speakers on the stage for this discussion. Interim Chief of COPA, LaKenya White, and Public Safety Inspector General Tabara Richardson. Each panelist will open up with a statement about their roles and responsibilities, and then commissioners will ask questions. Interim Chief White, we will start with you.
City Council in January. So forgive me if you saw, but I do need to show you that I'm pretty to this PowerPoint, what we do and where we stand. To ensure fairness and courage and involvement of accountability as it relates to federal immigration for we have prepared a brief presentation that provides relevant, accurate, and informed to answer any questions from the commission. Before I begin, I would like to clarify COPA's role in the public safety. COPA's authority is limited to conducting an administrative investigation into alleged misconduct by members of the Chicago Police Department. COPA does not have legal authority over law enforcement personnel who are not employed by the Chicago Police Department. Additionally, as an investigative agency, COPA's function is to investigate alleged misconduct. COPA does not comment on training, operational procedures, or the rules governing how CPD members carry out. Questions regarding those matters should be directed to CPD leadership. And I hope you all can get very. As many of you are aware, COPA currently does not have investigative jurisdiction over the Welcoming City Ordinance violation. COPA's jurisdiction is outlined in Chicago Municipal Code, which is 2-78-1, which lists the allegation type COPA with all rights to investigate. Allegations outside those listed in the code are forwarded to the Bureau of Internal Affairs for investigation by ordinance requirements. That is the process COPA currently follows, that with a small subset of cases referred to the Inspector General or its external investigating body authorized by law. From June 4th, 2025 to February 17th, 2026, COPA has received 44 complaints about incidents related to federal immigration activity, including incidents that have been. Some of these complaints are meaning they were about the same. I want to stress that these figures reflect the initial allegation as reported to COPA. It should not be interpreted as indicating any investigative outcome. Change that. In July of last year, COPA heard from stakeholders, including many individuals about desire for these incidents to be investigated. We immediately began working towards a legislative solution. In September, all the persons just introduced an amendment to the municipal code that will bring an investigation of alleged welcoming city ordinance violation under Copa's jurisdiction. As of today, that is maintained. And these cases continue to be routed to the Bureau of Internal Affairs for investigation. If and when this is adopted, Copa will immediately begin investigating new complaints alleging violations of the city order. Complaints received prior to the effective date will continue to be investigated by the Bureau of Internal Affairs. Additionally, any new complaint that duplicates the matter already under investigation by the Bureau of Internal Affairs will remain with the BIA to the original complaint. If you hear me say BIA, I'm referring to the Bureau of Internal Affairs. Change slide. Both serve as a hearing on all allegations of misconduct of Chicago Police Department members, sworn or revealed. Upon receipt of complaint, hopefully begins working on it. This includes collecting other materials, identifying the possible jail, determining investigation, setting investigative jurisdiction, and reassigning cases with hope of that jurisdiction. In some instances, jurisdiction is fear of impact. Allow us to make an immediate determination without the need for extensive preliminary investigation. When court does have investigative jurisdiction, the case is assigned to one by general investigation or special division squad. Investigators continue to gather evidence, can receive necessary, conduct interviews, and take any additional investigative steps required. At the conclusion of the investigation, investigators work in collaboration with supervisory staff and, for significant cases, our legal team to determine findings. Then draft the closure of record and complete required closure process. I know transparency on this issue remains critically important to the people in this room. In this moment, transparency is not a simple value, it's a necessity. Hopefully, building very on the foundation of transparency. And our agency is to ensure that accountability is conducted in the open and with the public at the center of our work. Therefore, I would like to briefly highlight Copa's transparency practices. First, all open investigations can produce a closure that describes in the why Copa closed. If the case results in punishment, the record was plain and if applicable, the associated disciplinary and or training recommendation. Unless prohibited by law, these documents are subject to the closure requirements outlined in the code and in the freedom of information which allows for those for you. Additionally, Copa maintains online resources and data dashboards that provide access and statistics. Copa also produces monthly, quarterly, and annual reports. These reports include intake, pending, and closure figures broken down the allegation type. Per the municipal code, Copa must report quarterly to committee on the fire, answer any questions by its report. And finally, all closed Copa investigations are subject to review by the public safety inspector. Copa remains committed to transparency and accountability, and will stand ready to work in collaboration for solutions that serve the public interest. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll turn it over to you, Attorney General. Inspector General Richardson.
Richard Phipps, I serve as the Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety with the City of Chicago, Office of Inspector General. The goal of the evening is to give an overview of the work of the Office of Inspector General. I will admit that normally if I had a PowerPoint, I would be talking for about an hour. Even without a PowerPoint, if we were only talking for about half an hour. I was instructed that I had approximately the same amount of time for public comment, which was somewhere between 2 to 3 minutes. So I'm going to give a general overview of the office and then I will welcome the commissioner. Additionally, I'll stay around after and I will have many opportunities to come to any of your organizations or district council meetings. So with that, the City of Chicago Office of Inspector General, or OIG, is an independent, nonpartisan oversight agency with the mission of promoting economy, effectiveness, and efficiency, and integrity in the operations of city government. How do we do that? We do that in 3 main ways. The first way is to conduct an investigation. Now, most investigations into CPD members are going to be conducted by those agencies with the sole purpose of conducting investigations into CPD members. So that's going to be the Bureau of Internal Affairs within the Chicago Police Department and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. The OIG has jurisdiction over the entire city, meaning that we conduct investigations into all city actors, departments. Of course, both BIA and COPA are welcome to provide referrals, specific referrals to OIG if for a specific case, the respective entity thinks that OIG is better suited to conduct an investigation. Now, with regard to the second way in which we reach our mission, that was going to be by conducting audits and audit-based evaluations and reviews. And specifically, the public safety section within it, it has 2 units. One unit is the performance analysis unit. Another unit has those sections have jurisdiction for the Chicago Police Department, COPA, the police board, and so that unit conducts audit-based evaluations and reviews specifically into police department, COPA, police board. And because the public safety section sits within the OIG, because OIG has jurisdiction over the entire city, that means that the public safety section does as well. So you'll notice that sometimes our evaluations will cover agencies in addition to CPD, COPA, police board, to include OPSA and OEMC. Some of the recent publications have included an evaluation of the gun offender registration ordinance or non-response times or hiring. So if you go to our website, the publications, the website being igchicago.org, you'll find a lot of work on all of the publications there. The last way that OIG serves its mission is through its organization. If you go to igchicago.org, click on information portal, and then specifically if you click on public safety, you will see that there are a total of 9 public safety dashboards, 8 pertaining to the Chicago Police Department and 1 pertaining to the Chicago Fire Department. To include our latest dashboard we always had, where you can look up CRs or complexity notifications for CPD members, but the latest expansion, so to speak, includes looking at where CPD members are co-accused at least twice, the CR network dashboard. So all of them are there, data for transparency's sake, with the thought that information about the government belongs in the hand of the government. The last thing I'll say, specifically as it relates to the public safety section, which has already been brought up, is that the public safety section also conducts reviews of individual closed misconduct investigations conducted by BIA or COPA. And what we are looking for there are deficiencies that affect the outcome, material deficiencies. And so where we see those, we may send recommendations to reopen to the respective entity. And we publish, ultimately, once that investigation is closed, we publish all of those on our website here in Chicago, or look at publications, the recommendations to reopen. I also recommend looking at our annual reports on the 2020 we conducted approximately 1,316 reviews of proposals, kind of investigation, sending 30 recommendations to reopen, 18 of which to COPA, 12 to BIA. So all of our public safety section work is transparent, available on the website. And I will say, as far as the investigations, definitely by the documents center, those are confidential to include the intakes pursuant to the municipal code, specifically section 2-78-102. But what we can say, we do say in our quarterly reports, which are also a good resource. So what we can say is all of the website, College in Chicago, or and if there's anything else, other questions. Thank you.
Thank you both. So we now transition to the commission. Any questions? Vice President Ruben Abraham.
Chief Deputy Inspector General for this. My first question is for COPA. Given the anticipation of the Fuentes ordinance passing, what happens to those cases that you referred out? Are they completely referred out? Do you reopen those cases once you gain jurisdiction, or are those cases just gone? Yeah, so basically, like, if the Fuentes ordinance passes full city council and you gain that jurisdiction, what happens to those cases that either you referred out or you don't have do they reopen, or like what occurs to those complaints that relate to maybe welcoming city ordinance violation?
If it may, it will not be recommended. So in cases that went to BIA, what happens to stay at the level? When the ordinance, if the ordinance you think they will receive applicable, they will stay with us. However, if it hasn't, and it's already been made a complaint, somebody already made a complaint on them, it will already process with BIA, and it will continue to stay with BIA.
Commissioner Minor?
I'm also wondering if COPA's ordinance is expanded and you all have investigatory powers over potential violations of WCO. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that might impact your internal operations? Do you foresee any challenges as it relates to caseload, staffing, trainings? And how do you anticipate overcoming any challenges if you have already identified them?
We have currently six, well, actually 7 leadership because currently cannot function. So that being said, one like that. So what about me? I need to work over there, which is off the budget management and all the part of human resources. And what to get my and I'm also looking to, collaborate with you all, with the piece that, police department, and police boards, and my administrative meeting with too. We all have to work together, once something's done, because we hear the ball, we hear the plan. Trust me, this is the goal that we want to do, and we are time.
Commissioner Gottlieb?
Thank you. So who's responsible for monitoring and enforcing the mayor's February 2nd executive order?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I would just say if you listen back to our January 8th hearing, a lot of the concerns that community members raised were different from the welcoming city ordinance. They were about things that would be covered by the executive order. So I'm really hoping that soon it gets sorted out who's going to be responsible for enforcing it and that there's a clear plan for figuring out how it'll be monitored.
Commissioner Piamonte.
You're referring to I'll just say, was it last week when the Cook County Sixth Attorney's Office issued their general immigration enforcement action response protocol? So as far as possible criminal prosecution of federal agents that's going to be within the Cook County Sixth Attorney's Office jurisdiction, OIG's jurisdiction are for city employees, which CCPSA would fall outside.
Deputy Inspector Richardson, hi. Under OIG authority, the Public Safety Unit can conduct programmatic evaluations. How would OIG approach evaluating? And I have 4 parts. So the first one is individual CPD members' interactions with federal immigration enforcement activities.
With regard to as far as individual CPD members, I would say everybody who works for the city has a duty to report. CPD members themselves who are city employees have a duty to report, and specifically under rules 21 and 22. 21 referring to possible misconduct related to crimes, rule 22 related to possible misconduct related to rules, guidelines, policies. So those obligations to report misconduct are present, and then of course anybody members of the public should always feel free to submit allegations of misconduct to OIG, COPA, other body. And then once those for individual members, that wouldn't necessarily be an audit, that would be an allegation of misconduct. Both COPA's ordinance and the local city ordinance say that a filter for any allegations of misconduct against CPD members is going to be COPA. And so as far as individual members, that's going to be like other allegations of misconduct.
So it's not proactive on how you tell something. If I understood you correctly.
Be something in the media, right? We have a intake process.
Okay.
So if I'm seeing something in the media, which looks like it could be because I'm also a city employee, do need to report. Where it looks like it could be an allegation of misconduct, then send it through our intake process. So like the first step would be to be aware of something.
Right.
And once whichever body is aware, then it goes through its process. But even when OIG receives an intake as it relates to allegations of misconduct regarding CPD members, the filter deal with. So even when we receive intakes, those go to.
Okay, the second part is whether or not CPD as an organization is compliant with the welcoming city ordinance.
So that will fall under an audit-based evaluation or review. Each year we publish our annual outlook, the public safety set annual outlook, where we have this possible evaluations or reviews that we may conduct. If you look at even before recent years, we've had possibility an evaluation as it relates to CPD's compliance with the welcoming city ordinance. And again, that's based off of our capacity and what we launch. And we have a process for when we launch projects to determine what our objectives will be, what will the scope of the investigation or the audit.
How frequently is that? How frequently is that done? Is there any set standard, or is it?
So there set time we finish our evaluations as they are completed. And then same thing as we have capacity with our staff, then we decide what we're going to launch next.
Okay.
So there isn't a set time.
All right, so there could be a lag between the activity and the evaluation.
Right. And for, the information has to be present to be able to conduct the review. And so the sort of difference lies between if you're going to conduct an investigation into an individual member, right, where there are allegations of misconduct versus a review or evaluation would require the necessary data to review.
To do the review. Okay. That's it for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Vice President Ruben Abreu.
Thank you very much for the OIG. So are those decisions public, those audits that you decide to make?
The second agency that are recommendations to, they are required to respond to recommendations and so the others are and recommendations along with the respective departments' response.
Thank you. My last follow-up is, if you're able to share, is there a current investigation into violations of the Welcoming City Ordinance? Are you able to share that information?
And so, the closest we can get to that information will be to get our quarterly reports, because on the 15th of each month after each quarter ends, and we're identify summaries to include findings, recommendations to the respective agency and their response.
So Commissioner, for Interim Chief White. Thank you so much, Vice President Alvarijo, as you talked about where can the public kind of get information as it relates to different reports. I'm also wondering what that would look like for COPA if your charter is expanded. In the past, you all have provided public reportings on allegations and investigations that are of great public interest, such as your resolutions of investigations for the 2020 protests. So I'm wondering, should we anticipate any kind of public resolutions on these kinds of cases as it relates to violations of the Welcome City Ordinance?
So, everyone can have dashboards as well, where people can obtain information. All of our, any step of get the record, meaning the record will explain the how and the why. So, every case you can find, your dog will tell you what that might be, and then training what is even a recommendation. In these cases, I subjected disclosure from code and under freedom of information.
Thank you, Commissioner Gottlieb.
Thank you. So Deputy Inspector General Richardson, are there plans, or can you share if there are plans to conduct a programmatic evaluation of CPD's compliance with the Welcoming City Ordinance? Yeah, I guess I would just say it's given sort of the allegations that have been made, plus sort of how important this topic is right now, that would be a good use of time.
In March and April, we're also into our listening tours, where again, we receive feedback. So all that feedback and information is definitely taken into account when we decide what to proceed with as far as evaluation. So I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you both. So I do have a couple of questions, and mine are specifically related to the CPD directive. So Inspector General Richardson, I don't know how familiar you are with the policy, but that's where my questions are coming from, just to learn, right? I think we need to have a lot more understanding of what the department is responsible for doing, what sort of things are we hearing, and, what does that look like from you all's perspective? So one of the first questions I have, it deals with part of the policy that outlines that department members will not stop, arrest, detain, or continue to detain someone solely based off of, their immigration status or the fact that they may have committed civil immigration violation. So the question, I guess this would be for you, Interim Chief White, really, have you all saw complaints around the department doing that sort of activity?
So, we don't go the money. And the person that issue information, you might call the issue, you may be able to look into those. Now, that information on hand, so.
Okay. Thank you. Another portion of the policy, because we heard a lot about the fact of departments will not participate in civil immigration enforcement operations or assist. However, as we've highlighted, there is an exception around that. And I just want to hear from you all, because I would consider you all subject matter experts, just how you interpret the exception, because I think that's important for us as a body to be aware of, and then also community, so that we are all coming from the same understanding of the language. So it says this does not preclude department members from responding and taking police action should a contemporaneous public safety concern arise, or in violation or in response to alleged violations of the Illinois compiled statutes and municipal code of Chicago. So my reason for asking that, because I think, having context and examples is important in terms of expectations that we may have about when there is a violation versus what is allowed within policy. So if you all could just share sort of your understanding or your interpretation in a way that we can understand with examples of what it is and what it isn't, essentially.
So, they should be where. Things that, right? So those will be the program, getting more critical opportunities. Then we can find there's a public safety issue, or there's somebody being in danger in this way. Break out. So, right to respond, so that's good. That is, and she kind of like, the, again, police are here to protect and serve, and so somebody calls now and says, hey, my friend is sitting out here getting kicked with that. The police have to, think about it, they don't. Then that's why I would say, police department, because they did not find, I don't think it should be there. No, I don't. Responses we had that or if it came up with investigation, then we would have to I would say CPD has its general counsel and also so it's like so the language reports with or the directive that emerges from it, that is something to be considered and discussed.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you. Chief White and Public Safety Inspector General Tabara Richardson for participating in tonight's discussion. If you would like to receive updates when we schedule an upcoming meeting, please let us know, and we will ensure that you are on the list to be included. Now we will go into our reports and updates. Our next order of business will be reports and updates. I would like to ask Commissioner Wortham to provide an update on the commission's work around traffic stops.
All right, good evening, everyone. So a little over a year ago, it was recommended that the issue of traffic stops be added to the consent decree. I know a lot of you know this, but I'll review it just for those who might not know. So in that vein, President Terry and I serve on the commission's CPD policy work group. So given the recommendation that traffic stops be added to the consent decree, Commissioner Terry and I, on behalf of the commission, have been working with the Chicago Police Department, the Illinois Attorney General's office, as well as the consent decree monitoring team to work out how traffic stops will be added to the consent decree. We've said this a couple of times, but just so that the audience is clear, the consent decree work has a confidentiality clause for all parties. And so our recommendations do have to be quite limited in these meetings. But what we can tell you and do want to tell you every month is that we are continuing to work. Back in July, the commission took a vote on various policy prescriptions for traffic stops. President Terry and I have taken the spirit of those votes into our work with the parties we just discussed. However, when we took that vote, we as a commission also committed to the public that we would continue to be open to feedback from the public and from the community, because that's kind of the whole point. And so even though we voted on certain policy prescriptions, those may evolve based on commission learnings or community feedback or a variety of other factors. And so in our work, we have recently been meeting with CPD to try and be responsive to things we have learned in this process and continue to work forward toward a resolution. We have an upcoming meeting next week, and we will continue to do that and continue to come back to you with updates. I think the most important thing that I think I say on this every month is please continue to give us feedback on traffic stops. And I say this from every perspective. Whatever your perspective on traffic stops is, we want to hear you, because our job is to be responsive to the community. And so we hope that whatever the final product is here will be responsive to the community and the interests of public safety and all of our responsibilities. So that is the update on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Wortham. Now I would like to ask Commissioner Piemonte to give an update on agency 2026 goals and 2025 evaluations.
Thank you. As part of its duties under the ordinance, the commission sets annual goals and conducts yearly performance evaluations for the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, chief administrator of COPA, and the president of the Chicago Police Board. At its last meeting, the commission voted to adopt the 2026 goals for each agency. You can now find those goals on the commission's website. This year, for the first time, the commission will also be publishing the annual performance evaluations for each agency. We hope to have these posted on the website at the end of the next month.
Thank you, Commissioner Piemonte. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Piemonte. Now I would like to turn it over to Vice President Ruby Navarijo to give an update on district councils.
Thank you, President Terry. I just want to take a moment to thank our district counselors and district council staff for all the work that's been going into producing monthly reports. I read them, so thank you. These reports help to identify the top policing and public safety concerns in each district. I encourage everyone to get involved with your local district councils. If you want to learn about your district council, you can visit the CCPSA website. We'll repeat everything in the end. If you don't know what district you live in, you can find out on the website. You see who your counselors are and when your district council meets. You can also get information about what happened at past meetings of your district council. The monthly meetings provide community members with an opportunity to raise and address concerns about policing, public safety. The information from these meetings help guide the commission's work. By participating in your local meeting, you can have a voice in shaping public safety. Thank you again to our district counselors for all the great work that you do.
Thank you, Vice President Ruby Navarijo. Vice President Ruby Navarijo will also provide an update on the Non-Citizen Advisory Council.
Yes, so we've been meeting with the Non-Citizen Advisory Council pretty frequently, about every month. and we're just hearing their concerns about what they're hearing. A lot of the folks on the Non-Citizen Advisory Council work in the community or work for a community-based organization. So they provide valuable insight on what questions we could ask, what information we should be looking for. And you actually could join the Non-Citizen Advisory Council if you would like. It is a group comprised of non-citizens and who work with the non-citizen community to represent those voices. That information is also on our website. But right now, we're continuing to have discussions frequently about how the commission can move forward on this work.
Thank you, Vice President Ruby Nabarijo. I'll now share an update on CPD workforce allocation. CPD is working with Matrix Consulting Group on a comprehensive analysis of CPD workforce allocation. I serve on the Workforce Allocation Steering Committee on the behalf of the commission that provides input on the study. The study will have significant impact on the number of commission's goals for 2026, on a number of the commission's goal for 2026. So I'd like to share information about recent progress on the study. The study is looking at police department staffing at every level across the city and assessing whether there are enough CPD staff when and where we need them the most. CPD and Matrix are considering how to allocate resources in order to improve response times across the city, ensure appropriate ratios of police officers to supervisors, and lay the foundation for a successful community policing model. Matrix is working to complete the full report, but recently issued an executive summary of the workforce allocation study. It's publicly available on CPD's website. Here are some of the key findings in the executive summary. CPD faces significant staffing pressures. There are inconsistent service levels across the city, with too few supervisors in some places and little opportunity for officers in some communities to spend time building relationships that can result in improved public safety. CPD has a much smaller percentage of civilian employees on staff and could benefit from increasing the number of civilian employees who do the important jobs that do not require the same training as a police officer. CPD should increase the number of sworn and civilian positions. We will provide more information about the workforce allocation study when the full report is released and when we give updates on goals that are affected by the study. We will now move to adjournment. Yeah. No, not yet. Yeah. But I do want to, before we close out adjournment, Commissioner Minor did want to highlight that there's going to be a city council meeting on March 10th, and that if you're interested in learning more, you can connect with her afterwards. To connect with the commission via social media, you can find us at Facebook, Chicago CCPSA, or search Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. On Instagram and Twitter, we're at CCPSA_Chicago. On YouTube, we're at Chicago CCPSA. The commission's next regular meeting will be Thursday, March 26th at 6 p.m. at George Washington High School, 3535 East 114th Street. I thank you all for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you on March 26th, and we hope you'll stay engaged and encourage people you know to join this work. Thank you all. Have a great evening.